All right, we are back for everybody's favorite segment with nobody's favorite music. Facts are your friends. Let's do it, Joe. Oh, gosh. Still no, Kelly. Like literally one job as a producer is to have not terrible music.
Oh, trust me, there are so many other jobs. And I've told you before, we're going to. Just chill.
All right. I don't do good at chilling.
Oh, I'm fully aware of that. I don't either, so I get that.
It's not one of my spiritual gifts. And it's I think when a woman tells a man, hey, just chill, it's kind of like when a guy tells a girl, just calm down. Just calm down.
And no one in the history of the world has ever calmed down by being told that.
Not one time. All right, let's go to this article that you handed me, Kelly. I'm so thrilled about this. Actually, right when I saw the title, hemorrhoids, I got some Preparation H, which should sponsor this show because I give them so much free airtime. And here it is. It's out of CBS News, so we know it's factually correct. Teens turning to TikTok for mental health advice are self-diagnosing. Oh, man. A third-year psychology student says this: if I'm trying to figure out how to do something, I feel like it's easier to go on TikTok. So I want everyone to catch how quickly the world has shifted. I went to college in the late 90s and into 2000s. I went to college and I paid a professor. I paid the university, who then paid the professor, for the knowledge that was in their head. Now, granted, I could have gone to the public library like Good Will Hunting says. I could have done that, but there was information in my professors' heads that I did not have access to, and I was paying for that access. And in fact, there's some old colleges, I think Oxford, there's several colleges that you can't go into the building. You can't go into the psychology building unless you're a major. You couldn't go into the architecture building unless you were a major. They protected the information because that's what these students were paying for, and this was a special incubated world. And then the internet's hit. And then very quickly, it was about 2000, I don't know, several years ago, my wife backed up and knocked the side mirror off the car. And so, in an old Prius. And so I got on eBay and bought one, had it shipped to the house. My dad came. My dad's good at fixing stuff. And so we went out to fix it together. As we're walking outside in the dark, he says into his phone, repairing 2010 passenger side mirror Prius video. And I was like, oh gosh, my old man's losing it. And then YouTube pops up the video, the exact step-by-step thing. I was like, oh man, I don't really need what's in a mechanic's head anymore. I can get this. There may be some tools I don't have. There may be some time. I don't have the time to fix this thing, or there may be some expertise. I don't have a lift or whatever. But the days when I would go to a mechanic and say, I don't know what's wrong, I don't know how to fix this thing, that's over because I can get that information on YouTube now. And in just a few short years, it's gone from YouTube, which is millions and millions and millions and millions of people doing things and uploading their process. They just put up cameras and say, I'm going to give this information to the world for free. Some of it's trash and garbage. Much of it's great. A lot of it's just great stuff. I built a compost box over the weekend. I got the plans off YouTube. I just punched it in. I didn't have to pay for it. I mean, it's just a wild new world we're in, and I don't think we fully grasp it. And then you go one step further to TikTok, which takes an 8-minute video or a 25-minute video or maybe even a 3-minute video and turns it into a 30-second, 15-second clip. Now, here's where this is dicey. I put stuff on TikTok, so I'm a part of this system. Let me tell you why. For those of you who are not people of faith, there's an old story in the Old Testament by a guy named Jonah, right? And everybody knows Jonah, but he got eaten by a fish and yada, yada. That's not the important part of the story at all. The important part of the story is there was a group of people that the story goes God wanted to save. And he said, those are terrible people. I don't want anything to do with this system. I don't want to be a part of this thing. They're not worth saving. And he was told, that's exactly where I want you. And so that story has always resonated with me is when people are hurting, when people are struggling, when people I don't like, that's where I need to go. When there is a system that is just full of garbage, I need to head into that, not run away from it, not thumb my nose and be like, eh. So I have such disdain for 17-year-olds getting on social media platforms and in 30 seconds Googling what some diagnostic is and being reductive and saying, I feel this, and so I have this, and you have this too. Here's what you need to do. Have warm lemon water and some essential oils, and your depression will just go away. That is so dangerous. I've entered into that world to try to bring some sort of sanity to it. And I know people with wisdom and experience and the right credentials have done that. So I want to call that out. I've headed into TikTok. So it's weird for me to be talking about how dangerous I think all this stuff is and what nonsense this is. But the idea, as the article says, social media therapy. This woman was diagnosed with anxiety and depression. By the time she was in 5th grade, she had begun having suicidal thoughts. Even with therapy, her struggles with anxiety and thoughts about self-harm made her feel alone. There was no one I thought could help me. And I started looking for other people through social media. Then I looked through Instagram, any social media I could, then TikTok. On TikTok, the hashtag mental health has been searched more than 67 billion times. 67 billion times. Now gaining traction is referred to as social media therapy. They're going into these spaces to soothe themselves, to make themselves feel better, to make themselves the master of that environment when they don't feel that they've mastered the environment of the outside world. Let me repeat that in English. When you go scroll and you feel like you feel a little bit better, or you get some super quote or some yeah, and you don't take that quote to the real world, you just sit there and baste in it, you'll feel better, but you're feeling better in a fake fantasy world. It's not real. Because as soon as you move into the real world and your parents' relationship, or your mom being upset with you, or your in-laws deciding what you do Christmas, or your spouse is looking at pornography instead of talking to you, those things are real. And what happens is we go to these devices to get these little quips and get these little clips to make ourselves feel better. Oh, I've got this diagnosis. I've got this issue. This 22-year-old influencer told me I have a thing, and it's a this. And this is why, and I'm just going to stay here. And then the algorithms learn this is what you like, and it just keeps pumping it in. And now you are sitting in a trash can, swimming in sewage, while the world spins outside of, the real world just keeps spinning outside of this little digital box. It says this, as you look through TikTok, the algorithm strengthens. It turned into diagnosis, turned into other things like ADHD, borderline personality disorder, and more depression, anxiety. Whew. Well, I'll read this last one. In one recent study by the Center for Countering Digital Hate, researchers posed as 13-year-olds and searched and liked mental health videos. They found that TikTok pushed potentially harmful content to these users on an average of every 39 seconds. Harmful information, wrong crap. And listen to me, when you're playing with mental health, you're playing with life and death. You're playing with long-term damage to people. Some users received recommendations for content about suicide within 2.6 minutes of joining the app. What's online is a free-for-all, and there's really no accountability for this, and there's no responsibility taken. Here's the last one. Canadian Journal of Psychiatry of popular TikTok videos about ADHD, 52% were deemed misleading, 1 out of 2. So what do we do with all of this? I want to circle back to you, moms and dads. Get these devices out of your children's hands. Stop. I cannot get mad at a 13-year-old or a 15-year-old or a 12-year-old or a 9-year-old for not wanting to talk to their parents about something. Fine. They're kids. I'll give them that. But I put the blame squarely on mom and dad for handing them these devices and saying, here, run free. And if you have any crazy oh, what's oral sex? Instead of asking somebody who might know, I'm just going to Google it. I'll just look on TikTok. Hey, what's depression? I feel bad. Mom was mean to me today because I got a D in class because I didn't study. I'm going to get on TikTok. Oh, I've got depression. I've got major depressive disorder. And my mom's got narcissistic personality disorder. This is what... And now we're off to the races. And then you tell a friend at school, and that friend says, hey, I've got something for you. And they hand you Xanax, or they hand you Adderall, or they hand you something else. And the percentage of that crap that has fentanyl in it it's just a whole domino. Take the phones back. Take your kids' lives back. Stop sending them to TikTok. Stop allowing them. And if all the propaganda bullcrap is true about other countries running TikTok and trying to, dude, what are we doing? This whole thing, there are people out there trying to debunk misinformation, and good for them. I'm trying. You notice I don't talk a lot about diagnostics. I talk more about how to treat people and how to take care of people. But at the end of the day, I think this is a really simple, solvable problem. And that means our kids are going to be mad at us for a season. They're not going to like us. That's fine. That's our job as parents, is not to be liked all the time. Our job is to protect their kids. And we have to take this crap out of our kids' hearts and minds. And we have to be adults that are likable, that give them an opportunity to come back and talk to us. They are desperate for adults to say, hey, I love you. I like you. I'm likable. What's going on in your world? They're desperate for it. Moms and dads, start showing up. Enough with the digital babysitters. Enough. Let's take back our kids.